Barakat. Our dear viewers of Salam TV, once again welcome you from the weekend, from the independence celebrations. As of now, the candidates of Senior 4 in Uganda are in their biology paper. May the Almighty Allah ease it for them. On screen is the Alhidaayah show every Monday 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. where we appreciate Islam and science. Today, I, Alkam Mayanja, your host, I'm presenting miracles of the human body, and specifically, we are going to appreciate the hormones. Those chemical informers that inform your body that such and such activity or body reaction is supposed to take place. Remember, from our earlier sessions or programs, we have looked at different systems of our body. We looked at the endocrine system, and now more specifically under the endocrine system we are going to look at these hormones. We also looked at the genetic material or the DNA, and we agreed that it is the blueprint for creation or formation of all these other proteins, which even includes the hormones. These hormones that do communicate, all that even facilitate, and in balance they bring about our good health. They also bring about the mood swings or the different modes of our body. And today in the studio I'm with Mr. Hamza Sekalema, a lecturer at Islamic University in Uganda, and he's going to take us through some important facts that we're going to appreciate about these hormones. I'm not going to take a lot of time. Mr. Hamza Sekalema, you're most welcome, sir.
Now, my dear listener, viewers, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us life. A life that is very complicated. It's a very large miracle. All these months we have been covering the miracles of these bodies that we have. So the moment you are alive and well and you are walking around, just to know you have a whole set of miracles just moving around, and it is what we are doing for now. Appreciate the miracle that Allah has put into you and devote yourself to Him. The message is as simple as that. Now,
thank you very much, Mr. Hamza Sekalema. Our dear viewer, as we have already informed you about these hormones of ours, that they do moderate our moods and also almost all the body reactions, that is from physiological reactions and all other body reactions that maintain our day-to-day life. We looked at digestion and all the other processes. We have appreciated that these hormones, more specifically insulin, that is from the pancreas, they do a lot in digestion of the glucose, that is the energy for our body, and its decrease or decline in its production will lead to abnormalities, that is more specifically diabetes. So this is one of the reasons as to why we are on your screen to talk about these hormones, such that you appreciate the bounty that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed you with. Mr. Hamza Sekalema, what are some of these facts about the hormones that the viewer would appreciate?
One thing we should appreciate is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has designed the human body as a very advanced piece of engineering. What we humans create are usually driven by mainly two things. You have the mechanical, then you have the electrical. For the majority of, in fact nearly 100% of human inventions are primarily controlled by the electrical, controlling the mechanical. And that is where we stop. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala goes a step ahead and adds a chemical element to the control process. And possibly human beings should investigate why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not stop at the electrical. Because you can see that we do have these movements and etc. and they are controlled by an electrical system that is moving these physical parts. And if in case the electrical system has a problem, you simply find your limbs just being numb and unable to do anything.
True.
But he again added the chemical element, which are the hormones that we are talking about here. So that chemical element there does a lot in controlling how things are done within this body. Because remember we said the human beings do have their DNA. The DNA is like more of a formula. Then out of it, we activate some parts of it, we deactivate some parts, and we create a new human being like Hamza and his children. Each of them looks very different. That's the DNA part that we covered last week. But now, once the DNA has formed this Sekalema Hamza here, he begins to live his life, he gets angry, he grows at a certain rate, etc. That part there is not regulated by DNA. That part is now managed by a chemical mechanism. And that chemical mechanism is very critical in ensuring that we live our lives in a very balanced way. So a few facts. Fact number one, a human being generally has around 50 different hormones, each one doing a certain particular control activity. Very interesting of which is adrenaline. Now, you know, adrenaline is a special survival hormone that is generated within our bodies whenever we are at a very high level of excitement.
Hey, that is why it is referred to as fright and fright.
So that adrenaline there is a very interesting hormone. You see that under normal conditions, we human beings regulate the way we do. If you are going to run, you run at a certain pace, you get tired, you stop. No. But once adrenaline goes into you, for example, you've seen a dog is coming towards you, and you
become a kiprochichi there
and adrenaline is triggered to enter into that body you've been thinking is not very tough.
Yes.
Wallahi, you can outrun a dog in case the system has commanded fight. And interestingly, these hormones, once they take over, the human reasoning ceases to work.
True.
So if the hormone has said flight, even if you have a gun, you'll throw away the gun. Then you run with your legs. Actually, some people even jump off motorbikes that are a lot faster than, and they run with their legs. So in that case, the chemicals are the ones managing what happens next. There is no reasoning, there is nothing.
Allah.
So that is how fight goes. So that adrenaline there is sometimes what people try to use drugs to trigger. There are people that we call adrenaline junkies. Now an adrenaline junkie is a person who is obsessed with triggering adrenaline because it has that nearly intoxicating effect once it gets into your body. So people do things that cause adrenaline to be triggered. You've seen people that jump off bridges. Okay, they've tied a rope around themselves, but naturally when the body faces that kind of situation, it generates adrenaline and has a survival protocol. And this person seems to enjoy, and it becomes a fun mechanism for them. So you can see that a chemical is triggered, it turns what would have been a feeble human being into a very fast running object, in that if you are under adrenaline, you will simply outrun any of these 100-meter champions, and it is because the body is now at that point not operating as a normal human body. The adrenaline comes in, it is a survival drug. So it is a survival drug that commands one of the two things. If the command is to run, you'll run like a cheetah. But if the command is to fight, it will also give this human being an abominable level of strength and courage, in that the person will stand in front of a lion and hold it, and you find the person has killed a lion. But during that process, it shuts off things like pain. You'll find a person running over a fence, the fence cuts him, but he's not feeling anything. So it's usually once you've arrived at a safe location that you'll now begin to feel all the effects of what has been happening to you. But in that survival mode, the system will shut down all the limits that Allah has put in order to control our lives. Otherwise, if we were operating full-time in adrenaline, there would be a lot of damage. This body can't stand that level of action.
Because for it to produce this greater effect, meaning all the energy reserves are communicated to produce a lot of energy.
Produce a lot of excess. You run a very long distance at a very high speed, but you don't feel tired. It is only once you've gotten out of the danger, that you begin now to go back into normal state, and you'll find there is a lot of damage to the body. Actually, you may even reach that point and you just collapse, because the normal operations of your body are not for that. So that is a hormone. So we have 50 of them that do all these critical actions that are within our body, and they are very critical. So it means, therefore, part of what affects our bodies and their ability to function is the balance between these chemicals. Because remember, some of the chemicals are to pull us down, and others are to increase our activity rate. So it means if you now have an imbalance where either there is too much of the chemicals that put you down, you'll end up being unable to do anything. Or in case you have too much of chemicals that are increasing your bodily function, then it begins to wear out your body in a way that is abnormal. All of these are things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has controlled. So those hormones, important fact, they influence everything that happens to you, because they are the controllers of your life.
Yes.
They control your health. They control your metabolism, what we've been talking of, adrenaline, it goes into the metabolism, and they even control your sleep. Don't think it is that big bed you bought that manages how you sleep. The hormones you have will control how you sleep. They even control reproduction. We did see reproduction. You are not going to produce any child unless the hormones are moving in the correct form.
I think the effect of hormones can better be seen during puberty, as these boys and girls, you can see in the girls there is increase in the hips. There is also growing, the developing of
so
the
you can
breasts.
see that the hormones do come based on a need. So this small child of 1 year up to puberty, they don't need any preparation for reproduction.
True.
So their bodies are left just nearly the same. They appear largely the same. But once there is now need for reproduction, meaning the body has reached a point where it can actually participate in a reproductive process, the hormones are triggered. And once they are triggered, they begin to do things. The boys' voices become very big. Actually, if you've seen boys that are changing over from the small to very large voice, you'll even get threatened and say, what's happening with this man? In just a very short time, you find the voice has become very big. So, meaning the man is now being prepared for that leadership role. The voice has been made bigger. The muscles grow a bit bigger. So those are things. Then for the feminine side, because they have to prepare for to bear children and etc., their bodies also expand. The waist area expands. The breasts also grow larger. So these ones are all controlled by chemicals. It means those things are already there. The chemical simply triggers how fast they become implemented, and finally you find the person has changed over just a period of a few months or 1 year. They have totally transformed into a new mechanism. So it even controls our thoughts. What you are thinking can easily be driven by hormones. You'll know very well that when women grow into menopause and there is some distortion in the chemical mechanism, people begin to have what they call mood swings. A mood swing is an abrupt change from one mood to another. We know the moods. You are happy, you are sad, you are excited. Those are the common moods. And we don't expect them to change very rapidly. Like 1 minute one person is happy, then is crying the next minute. So these ones are all just a distortion of chemicals, and you already see the person is getting disrupted. Actually, in some places, they realize that interrogating people using physical means is a bit, it causes too much damage to the body, to the level that you can easily see that this outcome has been under some kind of interrogation. The face is swollen. So for them, what they do, they don't waste time beating you up physically, because that one everyone will see. They just interfere with your hormonal systems. So for example, a person comes and pumps you with adrenaline.
Allahu Akbar. Remember, we agreed that these hormones are needed in very minute quantities.
Exactly. Now
Very
the person pumps like you with some very large dose of
Allahu Akbar.
So something that is expected in tiny amounts, and this person pumps it into you. Physically, you will not have anything that can be visible, but the kind of internal effect will be so much. We also do have hormones that control pain. So it means I can induce pain in you without necessarily beating you up, because the other hormone is simply triggered by an action that is external, but you can introduce pain by a chemical mechanism.
True.
So this person now begins to feel a lot of pain, and some even go ahead and begin to influence thought by chemical means, meaning they cause hallucination, programmed hallucination. They make you, out of the blue, you begin to see as if you are in some very lonely place, somewhere in a desert, where you need to be rescued. So the person quizzing you now tells you, I'm the only one that can rescue you, but if you tell me, I think I can rescue. So you can see that the human being can be heavily manipulated by chemical means without necessarily resorting to. So even your thoughts, and most importantly, your emotions. You see that sometimes when our mothers become pregnant, they become very emotional, and just because the body has now received a new object and the hormones are now beginning to change in order to accommodate this new feature that is within the body. So all those are things that these hormones control, and they are chemicals. We human beings have not yet learned how to control things by use of chemicals. We mainly manage the electrical part. So even the AI-driven robots, the very advanced ones, still they run largely on electricity. We have not had any inventions that use chemical mechanisms, but an investigation may need to be done. Why didn't Allah stick to the electricity? Why did He again introduce another dimension of chemical control? So, when was the very first experiment on hormones done? Very long time ago, 1889. You imagine people have been doing investigations ever since. In 1889, a man called Charles Edward Brown did an experiment.
Yes.
Actually, that one was the first self-experimentation. It was not the first experiment. But that one was the first self-experimentation. This man was doing an investigation on hormones, these things here. So what did he do? He injected himself with the animal testicle extracts. But people can't really go very far.
He injected himself with the animal testicle extracts. Allah Akbar.
So I think he didn't want to be accused of having tested on another person.
True.
Possibly you could tell us the medical protocol for testing inventions. If I'm testing on myself, do I need
ethical consideration?
Do I need
Because
permission?
it is a human being, and the clinical tests are supposed to be
do I need the
class 1 up to.
Do I need the permission to test on myself?
So if he's supposed to,
so this man, I think by 1889 there were no serious rules. He decided to inject himself with the chemicals from animals just to see how it occurs. But this is very highly discouraged. Chemicals have a mechanism that human beings have very little control. But remember, our competence has been mainly in the domain of the electricity and the mechanical. But the chemical part, if you have a distortion there, you have a major problem. But the very first experiment was in 1849. So in that experiment, what was done? A man called Arnold Barthold. So Arnold Barthold looked at some roosters. Roosters are male chicken. So he castrated them, essentially disengaged their testicles. And he observed that once he castrated them or disengaged their testicles, they lost their masculine elements. I think things like crowing and etc. He found that they no longer did those things. Then as a scientist, for control purposes, he restored on one of them. And when he restored, he found it regained the masculine element. So in that case, therefore, as a normal scientist, he concluded that this object here that I've been removing and disconnecting, connecting and reconnecting, it is the one that is causing this masculine element. So how would it cause it? The only way is by production of chemicals, which in that case therefore triggered off all this investigation about chemicals. And indeed, many of the diseases that we suffer today are largely caused by some of these hormones that do become a problem.
Yes.
When was the word hormone found? Remember, the experiment had been done way back, 1849, but they didn't get a name for those chemicals. They just realized that within these organs here, there are chemicals that determine how this rooster behaves.
Yes.
So the word hormone was actually developed by Ernst Starling in 1905. So in 1905, this Ernst Starling man picked the word hormone from a Greek word. So the word hormone in Greek means to arouse or to excite.
To arouse or to excite. I think, Mr. Hamza Sekalema, we're going to stop here for our first session and we go in for a short break. As we're going for a short break, our dear viewer, we are appreciating miracles of the human body, but more specifically, the hormones. These are the chemical messengers in our body that balance almost all the body reactions that take place in our body. I'm Alkam Mayanja and this is the Alhidaayah show. We're going in for a break and we're coming back shortly.
Yes, Salam TV.
Don't miss out on being part of the ultimate game changer. Omumaniwa Salam TV is expanding nationwide, bringing life-changing prizes to all Ugandans. Everyone can win, including cars, Haji and Umrah pilgrimages, land titles, hard cash, home furniture, TV sets, and many others. Partner with us in this noble cause and let's transform lives together. Don't miss out. Call or WhatsApp 0776 988 064 or 0702 988 064 for more information. Get ready to win from June 10th, 2025 to February 14th, 2026.
In the midst of grief, war begins to whisper. Some battles are personal.
Where reason ends, force begins.
You asked, we delivered.
We need to make Dama pay for everything that she's done.
Watch 5 days of drama, 5 days of Damalite, Mondays to Fridays at 8:30 p.m. on Pal Magic Prime when you subscribe to Kawiki.
I'm one of the scientists now doing research on plastic technology recycling, where we can be able to produce other products from plastic waste. For example, we are trying to develop a plastic tile with sand plastic tile, that it is unbreakable, it can be shifted from one roof to another. So this is a project we are working on. It's our initiative as Kazire Group of trying to reduce waste from the environment. Brothers and sisters, Taso Butonde for a better Uganda.
This message is brought to you by National Environment Management Authority, Kampala Capital City Authority, Vivo Energy, Airco, Pepsi, Stanbic Bank and NBS TV. Better steady, be better.
I want to encourage Ugandans to be careful about their security in terms of preventing frauds. There are so many fraudsters. There are so many people calling us and asking us for our PINs. I've actually gone through that. My own mother, who is in the village, was called and conned about 200,000 shillings. Somebody used her phone to take a loan yeah, and then so she had actually to forfeit the cards, I mean the SIM cards. So I want to encourage Ugandans to be very, very, very vigilant. Don't respond to requests by unknown people. Don't respond to anybody asking you to provide your PIN. Better steady, better.
In partnership with Uganda Communications Commission and NBS.
Okulinyisa omutindo gwa Afro Mobile. Eno yengeri joyinza okuzza obujja omutindo gwa Afro Mobile yo. Funa app ya Afro Mobile okuva ku mukutu gwa Google Store oba App Store oba ku mutimbagano gwa www.afromobile.com. Londako forgotten password. Tekamu account yo eya Afro Mobile ozebujja pin code yo. Ojja kufuna obubaka ku email yo okuli ne code empya. Bw'oteekamu code eyo olwo pin yo empya ekkirizibwe. Afro Mobile, emboozi za Africa ezannamaddala.
The Electoral Commission informs the public that nominations for the 2026 general elections will take place as follows. Presidential candidates 23rd to 24th of September 2025 at Lubowa Reza. Members of Parliament from 15th to the 16th October 2025 at the gazetted district/city nomination centers. Local government 3rd to the 24th of September 2025 at gazetted district and sub-county nomination centers. All aspiring candidates are reminded to carefully follow the official guidelines. Nomination forms and details are available at district, city offices or on www.ec.or.ug.
Eno ye Salam TV.
We'll be back from that short break. Our dear viewers of Salam TV, this is the Alhidaayah show, where we appreciate Islam and science, and today specifically we are appreciating miracles of the human body, and more specifically the hormones, those chemical messengers that transmit messages all over our body for the specific reactions, metabolism, digestion, and all other physiological processes in our body, because they are necessary for us to grow up, to change moods, and all other reactions. In the previous session, we've looked at these hormones and appreciated that there are over 50 of them. We've appreciated that we cannot speak about the hormones without talking about the glands, and we've appreciated that the glands could be one or a set of cells that do secrete this hormone of ours. We've appreciated that despite the fact that these hormones regulate almost all body reactions, but their release from the glands or their sites of production is controlled by the nervous system, that is the brain and the spinal cord at large. We've looked at different facts about these hormones, the discovery, the first scientific experiments for their discovery, and also their naming. And here we are going to look at what makes the specificity, because our dear viewer would wonder if there are over 50 hormones, but now they are secreted. It is no time for reproduction. This is now, for example, adrenaline. Why doesn't it go to cause increase in my body speed? But again, it goes to adrenaline. Again, goes to the muscle cells to cause another reaction, or that specific reaction. Mr. Hamza Sekalima, you're most welcome once again.
Now, the other thing which we should note about these hormones,
yes,
is that they don't act just randomly around the body. Each hormone targets some specific cells and targets some specific receptors within those cells.
True.
Meaning the hormone is already designed more like the way a key works. The keys may even resemble, but just one small modification and it no longer works in one door and it works in another door. So that's how Allah has designed these hormones. The chemical goes into the body, it passes all the other cells and does not do anything on them. Then it reaches the area where it should be activated and it causes the change. So that is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has controlled them. Otherwise, if they were to be randomly causing changes all over the body, there's no way they would help us in managing the way our bodies function. These bodies are extremely complicated. And possibly the reason as to why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has relied more on chemicals for their control is that the electrical requires a lot of energy. You can see all these devices we are using, they are very energy intensive. Actually, we human beings consume extremely large amounts of energy just because of these life support gadgets that we have. This computer alone will chew a considerable amount of power by the end of the day. So possibly that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses chemicals, because on them they don't need a lot of energy to do their actions. So there's a lock and key mechanism. Hormone targets only certain cells and a particular receptor system within those cells. So that is one other interesting fact. The other interesting fact we need to note is that people in China, you know, those Chinese have taken a very long time working with the human bodies. You see, even the way they do their combat, the kung fu and all the others, you can see that for them they don't just fight like
it's a calculated move.
So for them, they don't waste energy. They begin by doing a detailed study of an action, weigh the highest impact, then they trigger that action. So what you see people doing as kung fu, and the movements are designed to be very specific, and even the points of impact, they are also predetermined. They don't waste time hitting spots that don't cause any damage to the body. So a person will hit with very minimal effort and the impact is very big. So for them, these Chinese healers have for over 2,000 years been working with this endocrine system. The endocrine system is the one that manages these hormones. So for them, what they do, they extract these chemicals. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them an immense patience, ability to sit down, concentrate for extremely long periods and do something. Because you remember, these chemicals are available in our body in extremely minute quantities. But a person that can focus and extract, then that kind of person has a difference. But once he is able to extract and get a reasonable quantity, they now begin to use them for medicinal purposes. For example, if you find a person that has been weakened in their performance just because the body no longer receives certain chemicals that manage the energy element, it means for that person, the therapy may be a few doses of this particular enzyme, meaning you don't pack them with a lot of drugs and etc. Simply put a hormone.
Yes.
Moreover, in a very minute quantity, and we find the person will normalize. So that is what they have been doing. Over 2,000 years, they have been working with these hormones to ensure that they can be able. Interestingly, they would get them out of the pituitary
glands,
and in some cases out of human urine, because you know urine is one of the ways in which the body gets rid of whatever hormones that are excess, they go out. So meaning if you can get that urine and do an extraction, you can easily get some of these very special hormones. And I don't know whether human beings have been able to imitate some of these hormones and produce them synthetically.
Yes, of course, because if you look at when someone has got an accident and is experiencing a lot of pain,
exactly,
there is a given chemical that is made to mimic the other hormone for pain relief, and then you're not feeling pain.
Exactly. So you can see that once we understand how these hormones are working, we can use them for all these applications. A person that has an accident may have major damage to the body to the level that the pain cannot even allow them to stay conscious, because what the body does, if the pain is in excess, simply shuts down and the person goes into shock and is no longer conscious. So you want this person to stay without being in shock, so that you can treat them, and the only way you can do that is to intervene and provide a hormonal,
imitating
a hormonal process. So we human beings have been able to do that, but you can see that we do it within the context that Allah has already designed, meaning the body is already there, it will respond to that chemical in the correct expected way and you move forward. Otherwise, we are still limited as human beings in ability to design entire systems that can actually work with these hormones. Now, there are certain chemicals within our body that serve like a dual purpose even organs. For example, there is what we call vitamin D.
Yes.
Now, vitamin D has a dual classification. It is classified as a vitamin, something for bodily defense. Then it's also classified as a hormone.
True.
So your skin produces it, and it is very critical for bone healing and other things. Remember that these bodies of ours are under constant erosion. The way we use them, they keep getting destroyed. So just because Allah has designed a renewal mechanism that allows them to be restored, it's how we are able to live all these long years without necessarily seeing a major breakage. So this vitamin D therefore helps in renewing those bones of ours.
Mr. Second, I think that is also a miracle. Just merely the vitamin D, because receiving it or having it in the body as vitamin D, and then by activation of the UV light from the sun, turn it into this cholesterol, which becomes now the hormone that is active. You see that that is a miracle for our human body.
So meaning you are also encouraged to stay out in the sun in the early morning hours when there is reasonable UV, in order to trigger this vitamin D, which is acting nearly in the form of both a vitamin and
a hormone.
Now, there are two interesting hormones that we do have, and they are a bit gender biased.
Yes.
For example, estrogen is regarded as the female hormone, meaning it is the one that drives this human body into more of a feminine element. But it does not mean that the men don't have it. The men also the men also have it, but the women use it more. Their bodies.
I think it is more of a balance. If I am a man, I'm having less of the estrogen, I have more of the testosterone. But a lady has more of the estrogen and then very minimal of the testosterone.
So because these bodies are designed to do that work, and I think that's a challenge to our modern mechanism of thinking, where we imagine that the men and women, they essentially do the same thing. That one's a very unbalanced and a queer way of reasoning. Granted, a society should not oppress one of the genders in the interest of another. That one is also unreasonable. But to want to equate them mathematically, that one is again extremely unreasonable. And I think that's why you see the society has now gone into a situation where we overburden the female gender beyond what they can possibly handle. For example, you see, today's society has also loaded the burden of working on our female gender, the women. Some unserious people even go ahead and pressure them and demand that they add to the home in financial terms. For us within the Sharia, we don't agree with that kind of reasoning, because this female gender has not been designed for that kind of work. It has other purposes. Yet it can appear to be doing it, but that is not their role. And that's why these bodies are different.
True.
Anyone that has basics of engineering or physics, you know very well that when we design this object like this, and another one is designed with the breasts, etc., they can't be serving the same purpose. Why would there be a difference in design? There is no need. So therefore, each of these bodies has a certain function that it is designed to do. Some of the masculine structure is designed for heavy work, etc., a lot of emotionally challenging situations. So it is designed with that hormone of the testosterone to handle that kind of work. Then the female side is given estrogen to handle the reproductive element and all these other functionalities. Both do have this, but Allah has made an increment of one within the gender as it may be. So although they are, since they are biased towards any of the two genders, we give them a gender classification and say estrogen is the female one, then this one is the male one, just because of the increased quantity. But in both scenarios, we do need these particular hormones.
I think it should be appreciated from their functions, because when you look at the the estrogen, which we refer to as the female hormone, it is needed by men for their bone health and also prostate health.
Prostate health.
That is why our bodies, the men is, as far as the liver and the brain cells produce it. And then the testosterone, we are looking at it as a regulator in red blood cell formation and also muscle mass plus fatty distribution. So we understand that both the females and the males, we need these hormones.
But because of the difference in the way we are supposed to be living our lives, each gender has been given a bias in one of the two hormones depending on the major function that the body does. So we should not distort these functions. We should coexist without distorting these functions. Otherwise, once you distort these functions and you begin to assign too much of the function designed for the women and you attach it to the men and vice versa, you'll begin to see aberrations, and they are not positive aberrations, they are a problem. But because people are trying to equate these two totally different creatures and saying they are the same, you see these cats, for example, the way a leopard is designed, it's not the way the cheetah is designed. But they are all cats. On the surface, they resemble this pussycat that we have at home. But you can see that one of them has a very long, elongated body, etc. And for it, its weapon is speed. The other one is a bit shorter, but it has a lot of muscular strength. The weapon is stealth, hide, ambush, carry to the top of a tree. So because of their difference in design, for them they don't violate. You can't find a leopard trying to deceive itself with the chasing prey. That is not your original design. You are going to wear yourself out, and in the end you won't achieve any objective.
True.
Then you will also not find a cheetah deceiving itself with the trying to come to ambush prey. You are a very big and tall cat. You can't really achieve that. So if we can fulfill our original functions and each one complements another, we should be able to benefit. That is just an additional comment on the basis of the gender bias of these two hormones, estrogen and testosterone. Then the other also area where we find hormones being produced is body fat. And I think that's why we should worry a lot about the volume of body fat you are having, because if the thing is also producing hormones, it means once you have a bigger factory, it will produce more, and it will possibly cause distortion. So they produce hormones like leptin. Interestingly, this leptin, its job is to make you feel full, meaning not to feel hungry.
Yes.
It therefore means if you have too much fat, you can very easily injure yourself because your body is
also a miracle, because you understand if leptin is produced by these fat cells as a gland, it means if I eat a lot, these adipose tissue will produce this leptin and then inform me, please don't eat more than that. You don't eat more than that, because we will deposit more of the fats, and then you will be putting yourself to a disadvantage. I think it's a miracle.
That one is something also very interesting. The other issue about these hormones is within our stomachs, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us a hormone called ghrelin. Now this, is it ghrelin or ghrelin? Ghrelin. Now this ghrelin is what causes you to feel hungry. Because you see, eating is a very critical activity in the life of a person. But again, overeating creates a problem. So it means you should be having something that tells you, now you can eat. Then once you have eaten for some time, you should again have another trigger that tells you, now you are full. But of course, there are people who don't really honor the triggers that come from the body. It is them to determine when they are eating or when they are not eating, and they end up causing a lot of problems.
They don't listen to the body cues.
To their bodies. Because for us within the Sharia of Islam, we have a hadith that says, Nahnu qawmun. So the Prophet was defining the Muslims. Nahnu qawmun la na'akulu hatta najur. That we are people who don't eat
apart from when we are
except
hungry.
If they are hungry. Meaning, if you are really following the guidelines of the Sharia regarding eating, there is no way you'll become obese, and it is because usually that comes out of a person eating when they are not hungry. So the Sharia, the normal recommendation is eat a little. Once you feel satisfied, stop eating, and don't resume eating except if you are feeling hungry. So in that case, you will only give the body what it needs. But eating is more of a sport in our generation. People use it for celebration, and during the celebration, people have absolutely no control. They simply eat. A person eats until the food overwhelms them. Some even collapse, and these are all problems. Allah has given you that stomach produces a hunger indicator, so wait for it. Don't simply decide to eat without a need.
Yes, Mr. Hamza Sekalema, in conclusion.
Now, in conclusion, we are saying
Allah
subhanahu wa ta'ala has designed that body of yours, and one of the miracles he has put there is that chemical system that manages your day-to-day life.
Yes.
So it is a very advanced system, and we largely have no control over it. Once a person has been taken over by adrenaline, there is no known way you can put it down, and it is except if you find things that can compensate. So respect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and what he has created within you, and also wonder about how they're just chemicals. How do they finally cause real physical action that we see out in the world? These ones are all things that we wonder about as we continue to explore our bodies. And we also pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to balance our chemical system, because many people do suffer from very adverse effects coming out of what is called chemical imbalance or hormonal imbalance. A few excesses of one thing over another, and you find a person's life is totally distorted. So these ones are all things that we appreciate as part of the order from Allah. وَفِي أَنفُسِكُمْ أَفَلَا تُبْصِرُونَ. So that ayah is what we have been covering all this long, looking at our bodies, because he has commanded us, look at yourself. You don't even need to go out there. Just look at yourself, and a miracle exists, and that miracle should make you believe that this is not an accident, but an act that comes out of intelligent creation and intelligent design. So let's worship Allah and be obedient servants to him.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hamza Sekalema, for that great knowledge about the hormones. Our dear viewer, we thank you always, and we appreciate you for tuning in to the Alhidaayah show, which always happens every Monday, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m., where we appreciate Islam and science. We appreciate you for the feedback. I know you must, or you might have missed the previous shows of ours, but please and please download the Afro Mobile app, and also you go to our Salam TV YouTube channel. These programs or sessions are uploaded there. This is the Alhidaayah show. In conclusion, I'm going to thank Mr. Abdul Karim Chimera from MUBS. He says he enjoys this show and he always awaits for it. We thank you and more other viewers of Salam TV. I remain Alkam Mayanja. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Eno, yes, Salam.